Good afternoon. We started off with the first series, which pretty much was an overall introduction of what we will be speaking about and what you'll be learning from me about my past, present, and just also involving my career as a social worker. Leaving off, I was talking about how I got into social work and how I was working as a social worker and discovering myself really. When you get into social work straight out of college, you're still learning who you are as a person, let alone also learning a very profound career and working with people. And if you have had any experiences with trauma in your life, in your childhood, 9 times out of 10, they're unresolved. And can you imagine working in a field where you are impacting people's lives in a truly meaningful way and haven't really dealt with some of your own issues of trauma? You're not really certain how to fully deal with families when they're going through, or you're going to deal with it where you dealt with it or how you feel like it should be dealt with, but not really getting to the core. When you're dealing with people with real serious issues, it can be kind of scary because they're people's lives that you're dealing with. But when you start dealing with people who have the same issues that you yourself have suffered with, then you start helping them in the way that you wanted someone to help you. Therefore, you're trying to heal yourself. And that's how I was helping. And that's not how you're supposed to help people. I didn't realize that until more recently, because that is a way of really burning yourself out. You burn yourself out. Like I was saying, I had this void in my life because I had not received the level of love and security and identity, or even the fulfillment of knowing where I belonged, because I didn't really feel as if I belonged anywhere, because I did not have a true sense of what I thought was, in my mind, a family connection. And throughout my life, I continued, because I had that deep rooted desire so heavily on me to have that connection, that family. I want that family. I was searching so hard for a family connection. I conscious and subconsciously found it throughout relationships and friendships, that, which is fine, because friends do become family in certain forms for us, for many of us who don't have the biological sense of a family. We create that within our friendships, but it's healthy. You want to make sure you're creating healthy, not codependent types of friendships that become family. So that's another thing, because that need that's there, you know and that it becomes layers of stuff if you haven't fully addressed certain things within your life, and understanding yourself and where those needs lie within yourself. Then you're connecting and not connecting in a healthy sense. So once you start to understand how to connect and connect in a healthy way, but sometimes you don't know what that is. And for me, I grew up in a single parent household with my mom who worked a lot, so I was home a lot or left with a babysitter, home alone or left with a babysitter. And that's where that sense of not feeling connected came from, because I wasn't left with family. So it wasn't like, oh, I had a cousin, or this is my big sister, or this is uncle somebody, or aunt somebody, or grandma somebody, or cousin somebody, where there was a connection. It was being left with a stranger. Same sense of how our foster kids that are in the foster care system may feel that disconnect, so where there was a big disconnect. And it wasn't until I started working in foster care that I began to feel a great sense of how foster kids feel, and began to really identify a lot. And it was like, wow, it was kind of mind blowing. I'm like, Lord, I really understand how these kids feel, because in a lot of sense, even though my mom was there, she worked a lot. I was home. I was alone a lot. In a lot of aspects, she wouldn't want to admit this, but I really had to depend on myself for a lot of things. Um, and she had to depend on a lot of strangers in raising me. And a lot of those situations weren't safe where the sexual abuse occurred. And that was hard, because then for me, that trust and building safe relationships became harder for me. So having friendships and then having relationships, and as I learned as a person, as I got older, and then having a career, then I started breaking down. And as I was in this cycle, that I didn't realize I was in a cycle, but couldn't understand, like, why were certain relationships so hard for me? Do you ever get in situations with relationships with people and you're like, "Then why I keep having these problems? Why I keep having this? Why does this keep happening to me?" You just can't understand why. You can't get it. Like, why is this hard? Why is this hard? Why is this hard? It's like it's not supposed to be this hard. Like, love isn't supposed to be this hard. Is it? Like, is love supposed to be hard like this? And I couldn't figure out why. Why was love so hard? It's like I want love so bad. But why was loving so hard for me? Why was finding love so hard? Why? And I realized how I was attaching love or attacking love, smothering love, and I'll begin to break it down, because I understand that love is a series that has to be really broken down when you have experienced abuse, especially sexual abuse, abandonment of love, and all of that. Love looks so understanding and receiving true love. And so many times I didn't feel worthy of a real sense of love because of how I received, how I was abused. And in my thoughts, I didn't think that I was worthy of love because of what happened to me. And even though nobody knew, not everybody knew what happened to me, but I did wear this, feel like I had something written on my forehead, and I felt shameful about it. So I wore shame for a long time. And so that when you identifying and trying to find love, how can you find real love if you don't feel worthy of it? How can you find real love when you're chasing it? And I found that too. You know, when you don't feel worthy of love but want love, then you become a chaser of love because you want it. So in the next series, what I really am going to do is just break down how I spent so much time chasing love, holding on too tight to toxic love, and wanted my desire for family. Sometimes I was with people who I really didn't like, but their family was so beautiful. You know, they had the grandmas, the aunties, and the cousins, and they came together, and their family was just a beautiful family. And I was more in love with their family than I was with them because I wanted a family. And I just sought subconsciously, not even realizing it, sought out people with big families because that's what I wanted. And I am like the baby of 32 grandchildren in the first generation, but I'm not close to anybody because just how toxic my family is, and how distant, and how we just weren't taught to be connected and to be loving, to be together, and how I admired so much families that no matter what went down, they would never sever that tie of connection. They were always going to be together. And that might be considered a clannish or whatever, but they were family, and we always going to be family no matter what. But I didn't grow up with a family who had that kind of mentality that we're going to be together. I always felt like I was disowned and not cared for, not cared about. Where some kids would always have that connection. I never had it, and felt totally disowned in ways by a certain side of a family or another side of the family where I may have felt connected, but there was always something going on that wasn't positive. So just really breaking down what toxic love, confusing love, abusing love is, and what real love, sustainable love, nurturing love needs to be and looks like in your life. So we're not chasing behind love, but we are always open to receiving the best of love because that's what you need to grow and sustain yourself in this life. Till next time.